Hey guys, happy Sunday. It's still funky and gray and overcast and just the way I like it. but gosh, it's almost May. Usually by now we have, a little bit more spring-like weather, but what's that saying? April showers bring May flowers. So hopefully this will pass soon because I'm ready for some sun. We've had our share of gloomy, overcast, crappy weather, And like I said, I like this, but not all the time. And we've gotten more than our fair share. So yeah, I'm ready to move on. Um, it was helpful last night as far as doing Uber. It seemed like less people wanted to go out, so that worked in my favor. So I tried to go back out again today. I thought, hey, it's still gloomy out. Maybe people will want to order food or, have somebody else do their shopping. No, I got like 5 orders, but a couple of them were for the next city over, and I try to stay within 2 to 3 miles because I don't want to put a lot of miles on my car, so I take the shorter trips, and I've been doing fairly well with those, so I want to stick to doing that. These were like 14, 15 miles away. I thought, no, I'm not going to mess with that stuff. So yeah, I went out again today. I think I'll take tomorrow off. I've gone out Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Wow. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. But I've been making money, so it gets addicting. The more money you make, the more you want to make. So um, I was going to talk to you guys about moving out of California. Not me. That's never going to happen. But my girlfriend, she's going to be moving out of California, mainly because it's cheaper, which we all know. And she doesn't have a lot of family here, so it's much easier for her to move. That's the main reason I don't move. I keep telling you guys, I literally cannot move. Unless I could take my whole family with me, all my kids and grandkids, I'm not going anywhere. And I understand a lot of people are like, why are you there? It's so expensive. Yes, it is. It's one of the most expensive states. We have the highest taxes. The cost of living out here is just, it's insane. But where would I go? I looked it up because I was curious. It's like, where do people go that are leaving California? Because for a while there, people were leaving in droves. About what, 2, 3 years ago, I think. Was it before the pandemic or right afterwards? But we were, people were leaving, which was actually good for the rest of us that were staying behind. We're like, yay, it'll cut down on the traffic and everything. It'll be good for us. But I noticed that it really didn't look like we were losing anybody because we still have a lot of traffic, a lot of people. And so I looked it up and I was right. There was a period of time, they said for about 3 years, people were leaving, but that stopped. And now the population is increasing again, which, that's what I figured was going on. But the people that were leaving, they were going to places like Texas and Arizona, Nevada, Oregon, Idaho, Tennessee. I know several families that moved to Tennessee and Texas specifically, and Arizona, because it was cheaper, and almost all the people that I know that moved didn't have a lot of family here. Some of them actually moved to be closer to their family, so that makes sense. Um, and honestly, out of all the families that I knew that moved, I say all, I 6, 7 families maybe. Um, Only two of them wanted to come back. The other ones seemed to be doing fine, but the other two just weren't adapting because they'd lived in California all their life. The other ones had moved around, so it was a little bit easier. I think if you lived in one state all your life and then you up and move, that's, it's going to be a drastic change no matter which, state you move from. It's going to be a culture shock, and that's what happened to those specific families. They had never left California before, but they were both in good financial situations. They had good jobs, and they thought it would be easy for them to adapt. And it wasn't a financial thing. It was just the culture. Things are different, and from state to state, they just are. And not to say that it's better or worse, but every state has their own thing. I know, like the Midwestern states, which I'm originally from the Midwest, It's a whole different vibe there, and I love it. I'll always love the Midwest because that's, I was born and raised there until I was like 18, and I loved it. Although we did travel when I was younger because my dad was in the military, he was a Marine, and we would travel. We lived in Pennsylvania for a while, and then we actually lived in California. We lived in Oceanside, and then we moved back to Nebraska and stayed there for many years. But I go there and visit. I still have family there, and I love it. I don't know. There's just a different vibe, and the people are the best. The people in the Midwest, you won't find any nicer people. Um, I would like to visit the East Coast. I mean, we lived in Pennsylvania, we lived in Philadelphia, and we lived in Chesterfield, I think. I can't remember. I was so young, but that was different. We've visited the East Coast. My husband and I, we went to a Farm Aid concert there, and we, like Hershey, Pennsylvania. We visited the Amish country, and it was beautiful. Wasn't at all what I expected for, that area. I don't know what I thought, but that wasn't it. And I really liked it. I enjoyed it. I haven't been down south, except I did live outside of Dallas, Texas for about 6 months when I was 18, and I liked it. I did like it, but I Texas is huge. I didn't visit the whole state, obviously, just a very small area, and it was a very metropolitan area, and I thought it was really nice. A lot of money. There's a lot of wealthy people there, but my heart is here because I've lived here for 40 something years now, more than that, and because my family's here. I can't ever see leaving, no matter how expensive it gets, and you guys have heard me repeatedly say I would rather live in a tent and be poor and live in California near my kids than move away from them somewhere where I could be better off financially but not have my kids and grandkids around. They're my quality of life. That's what makes life worth living. So even if we were to move somewhere like my parents did, moved back to Iowa or something, that they did that briefly, and they bought a beautiful big old home, and my mom was having fun redoing the whole thing, but she was so lonely, and I don't want to go through that. So we're here. um yeah, it's we're gonna have to find a way to deal with it financially. I don't know. We may have to move someday. We may find that we just absolutely cannot afford it. I hate to think that that could happen. I would like to think that, if worst came to worst, we would just sell our home, and then I don't know if we would buy another one with the cost of homes out here. What, live out of an RV, travel, and then maybe when we weren't traveling, go to stay in an RV park for a period of time. But then we couldn't have family over. We'd be in a small, confined area, and I like to entertain. I like to do the holidays. So, but you never know. You got to roll with the changes in life, and if things happened and we couldn't afford it, then we'd just have to do what we have to do. But right now, I'd like to think that we can always find a way to stay here, to stay near our kids and our grandkids. If we were absolutely forced to move out of California, I would want to stay as close as possible. But Nevada and Arizona don't appeal to me because they are so hot. I mean, like hell, the vast majority of the year. And I have a lot of family that live there, and there's beautiful areas. I have nothing against it. Just the heat was it was horrific for me. I couldn't even imagine how people handle that. You wouldn't even be able to go outside. And that's the problem. I'm an outdoor enthusiast. I love to be outdoors. That helps me with my mental health, being able to go outside and go hiking and camping, and you just can't. And just the landscape, knowing that we have the beaches and the mountains and the desert in the winter, these places that we can visit, even if we don't. It's a psychological thing. I know they're here. I know I could just jump in my car right now and I could be I think the closest beach is less than an hour away, and it makes me feel, it gives me a sense of freedom. I mean, we're at the base of the mountains. We live in the foothills, so we can be up in the mountains in 20 minutes, and where the waterfalls are and all that. And that's nice. My happy place is the beach, always. I love, love, love the beach. And I love Southern California beaches like Laguna Beach and Dana Point. My daughter lives in the northern part of California, and their coastline is just so different. She lives literally right across the beach. It takes 5 minutes to get there, but it's a different kind. The beaches are different. The water's colder. They don't get just the waves are harder, and they're not like there's people that surf there, but they're not necessarily surfing beaches. But they're beautiful. They're great for photography. And I've heard the beaches down south are beautiful. And I would love to visit, like I said, the south, the far south. I've never been down there. I wanted to do like Mardi Gras and that kind of thing. And then I wanted to visit the Northeast. I'd love to go to like Maine and Connecticut. And we have friends in that area. And it looks absolutely beautiful, especially in the fall. My God, I would love to go there. But I think I would stay on the West Coast. Some people are leaving California or going to Oregon. Oregon's affordable, but lots of rain, but beautiful, green and gorgeous, and yeah, affordable. My surrogate son, I like to call him, he's a trauma nurse, and his wife is an architect, and they live up there, and they have a gorgeous home. Well, they have a couple of homes, but they invite us to come up there and stay with them. And he's in Portland, and it looks just amazing. He's right behind his house. I mean, you can see it is this beautiful park. So you just absolutely stunning views. And yeah, that would probably be the first consideration, would be Oregon. But like I told you, the rain, that would be a difficult one to overcome. Maybe I could be a snowbird, I could live there for part of the year. I don't know. I'll figure it out. But yeah, like I said, I just was curious about people leaving and coming. And yeah, there's always going to be people leaving and coming, especially in California. The politics, people disagree with them and stuff, but that changes from state to state, and that doesn't really affect me personally. Um, it's always been the same, no matter who's been the governor or whatever. Yeah, I may not like some of the things that are going on, but my life still goes on. And I've always been very, very happy out here because of it. And like I said, my family's here. And it's really different. Not all of California is the same. We live in a small town, and it's in the foothills. And my brother, who lives here, he lives about an hour away. When he comes up to visit, he's just like, why do you it's such a small town, the sidewalks roll up at 6 p.m., which is true, and it's fairly quiet. We don't have a lot of the businesses that he does. He's got everything right there. He lives in Orange County, so everything's there. And all the culture and the museums, and just he's closer to the beaches and all that. But then he gets to deal with the traffic, which to him is nothing. He's used to it. When we drive down there, we're just like, how can people live here? This is a nightmare. But I guess you adapt, you get used to it. And that's one of the nice things about the Midwest. Their idea of traffic, they're like, oh, be careful if you go around 5 o'clock, you're gonna hit traffic. It was not even at 2 a.m. out here did our freeways look like they're 5 o'clock traffic. You know what I mean? There's always traffic when you live in California, and you do get somewhat used to it. I still drive in it, so I'm used to it, but it's not fun. It's not fun. But they have that on the East Coast. They deal with that kind of traffic. And there's just, some things you just get used to. I like a faster pace lifestyle right now. I might not when I get older. I do get bored very easy. It's funny because when we had family visit from the Midwest, they'd come out here. My mom wanted them to do everything, let's go to Knott's Berry Farm and Disneyland and Universal Studios and Six Flags. And then we got to go to the beach. And, if you have time, maybe we'll travel. We'll go up to see Yosemite. It's only 5 hours away. And she would run them ragged to where they'd be like, Grandma, can we take a day off? And she's like, but you're on vacation. Don't you want to have fun? And they're like, yeah, but we don't want to die. You're just running us ragged. And we just get used to this way of life. We do it all the time. And you don't realize that. Most people don't do that. Um, yeah, so it would be a culture shock to go somewhere else where, things were slower paced. Although, I enjoy it for a little while. It is fun, but I always breathe a sigh of relief when I fly home, even if there's a bank of smog. When you fly down into it, it's home. And I'm sure you guys all feel that way about wherever you live. Wherever you live, you get connected to your state. It's home. This is home. I feel comfortable here. And I love driving through the orange groves, the smell. It's intoxicating. And seeing, the streets lined with palm trees and snow-covered mountains in the background. And you get used to certain things, the culture and the landscape, and our food. We have authentic Mexican food because Mexico's 2 hours away. It's just things that you get used to and you're comfortable with. Um, and even, California it's such a long state. It's like two different states, Northern California. As a matter of fact, at one time they wanted to split the state, because it is so vastly different, Southern California from Northern California. If I had my preference, I would live, the middle part, because it's still sunny. They don't get as much rain as Northern California, but it's different. The landscape's a little bit different. It's prettier. It's not as populated, but you pay even more. It's way more expensive, like Santa Barbara and Ojai. And then, you go up farther to Pismo and Morro and Carmel, and but they're just drives away, 5 6 hours. Well, Santa Barbara is only like 3 hours, and you feel like you're in a different state. It looks different, it feels different. And I enjoy knowing that we could be there. I have family that save all year to fly out here just to stay for a couple days. We're here, we can go and do these things whenever. But there are some areas that I still would like to visit. I'd like to visit Idaho. I've heard wonderful things about that. Wyoming. I'd like to visit all the national parks. I've been, to the ones out here, obviously. So, um, who knows? Who knows what the future will bring? But right now, when people ask, why don't you move? You need to move. It's not even a possibility. We couldn't afford to, for one, not with what's going on. And I couldn't imagine leaving my kids and grandkids. I just can't imagine it. So that's that's why we're here. And I'm sure a lot of you are in the same position. You want to be close to your families. So I'm sure most of you understand. And every state has its beauty. I can't think of a state that I'm like, I'd never want to visit that state. I think they all have their own um, qualities, that I would like to visit them for. So I just, like I said, my heart's in California. I had another brother who absolutely hated it. He'd come out here. He even lived out here for a while and just hated it. Hated everything about it. So, it's not for everybody. And I get that. It's not like everybody wants to live here. But those of us that do, this is our home. This is where we want to stay. But there's some people that don't even want to visit, and I get that too. It's different. So anyway, I'm gonna let you guys go. I just wanted to touch base. It's Sunday, like I said. I'm still considering, do I want to go out? I haven't gone out on a Sunday night. I went out this afternoon, like I said. It just wasn't too busy, but I don't know. We'll see. I'll let you know if I do. So you guys have a good one, and I will see you in the next video.